Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here on the entrance of the famous pit lane. What isn't famous here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Maybe the guy with the purple jacket. I don't know. So it was a crazy day today here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was the Monday practice session, the first time they've run a Monday after qualifying practice session since 2019. And we had our first instance of wall contact today, and that's what we're going to lead with. It was Dalton Kellett spinning on the inside of turn one, getting into the wall with the left side, the right side of the car getting up in the air. Dalton, thankfully, okay. We spoke to team owner Larry Foyt about this incident.
Well, he's fine, and that's most important. You know, the car's obviously banged up. When you have a crash here at Indy, they're usually pretty good ones. So unfortunately, a lot of work for the crew, but they'll get it fixed up, and we'll be ready for Friday.
So no backup car required. You can use the primary chassis.
It doesn't seem that way so far. Still getting some bits and pieces off, but the tub seems to be okay. So I think it's repairable.
4 cars, obviously, with the addition of Stephen Wilson right there at the end. How much of a challenge has that been for your team?
Oh, you know, this place is always a challenge, but sure, that was just a little bit added work. But all the guys pitched in, did a great job, and just glad to help get it in the field.
So not only was it the first crash of the month, but it was also really the first time we saw the teams truly race prep. It was pack racing throughout the field. Everybody was running really hard, and we saw some big speeds today. Now, we're not going to focus on the speeds because the speeds were not important. What was important was how strong drivers were in traffic, and we will talk about that later in this video. But let's take a look at the top 7 speed-wise, just because I think it's interesting. On the race boost, the Ganassi cars are 1, 2, 3, and it's Alex Palou at almost 230 miles an hour, 229.4 for Alex Palou. Dixon just behind him at 229 dead. Jimmy Johnson at 228.4 miles an hour rounds out that top 3. Takuma Sato, who you'll hear from, as well as Jimmy Johnson later on in this video. Marcus Ericsson, who continues to be a lot of dark horse picks within the media, at 228. Joseph Newgarden, Team Penske, 226. And then Connor Daly, the highest of the Ed Carpenter cars on the speed charts. And remember, speed charts, they don't mean quite so much. So what does actually mean something? Well, it's the traffic running. And we talked to several drivers, some of which you haven't heard from on this channel this month, talking about their cars in traffic and what kind of a race car they may have coming up on race day.
It's good. I mean, I think the track continues to evolve. Had a new wind direction to learn today, so for myself, all these reps really are helpful, and I think we're just getting a really nice, comfortable driving race car under me.
So going into it, we kind of went the wrong way with the setup, and it took us like the whole session. It wasn't until like the last stint where we ended up finding it out, figuring out. Honestly, we were quite nervous, like, oh no, this is not looking good, you know. We're only enough carb day left, but right at the end there, we finally figured out what to do with the setup, because when we did the first new tire stint, I mean, we literally lasted 10 laps, and I was already like losing, and this is not good, like losing the car. So yes, thankfully we figured it out at the end, and actually ended up being quite good.
It's not easy. Today is kind of a beautiful day, you know, it's a perfect day actually for the race day, 70s maybe. So it's going to be 20 degrees plus, which affect a lot, you know, for in terms of the not so much drag, but it's downforce big time, and the tire degradation because the track temperature. So today everybody has a luxury of a downforce, everybody can stay together, but I don't think it's going to happen on the race day. And also the race pace today was very fast, but in the race day probably a good 2 miles per hour lower. So we have to be careful with the gearing, downforce level, and the mechanical setup too. So it's a really challenging.
It looked like when you were up front, you were able to stay up front. It looked like it was really strong. What about the traffic? How strong were you passing cars?
Not too bad. If you have fewer traffic in front, let's say 2-3 cars, you still be able to overtake just. If you're leading the pack and swapping all over, then you can do almost a half lap each. But if you're back in a 15th space, almost impossible, almost.
So how about coming from, I think you're inside row 4, is that going to be difficult, or do you think you can get to the front?
I have to, right? I have to get to the front. So it's going to be challenging. I mean, the start, you don't want to get pushed too hard because obviously it's so risky. But at the same time, it's a great chance too. So we'll see. Luckily, I have my friend Will P next to, and Jamie is on outside. So I think my low is fine. The dangerous one is just low in front. And then afterwards, I think we have a very respectful guys there. So I think we can go good racing, but I have to be slightly careful. But end of the day, we'll see. I can't predict how it's going to be like.
Yeah, practice was very good. Of course, getting out of qualifying mode and into race mode. And yeah, we started off very strong today. I was able to run very closely to other guys, and that kind of indicates how good you are. Of course, there's some really big toe laps out there, but what is it, P24 for me? Doesn't really show anything. But I think we're very, very strong in traffic. And yeah, I struggled with no one in front of me. So yeah, that's, I think, pretty good. And yeah, also first time pitting off turn 4, which is going to be it for the race. So had to get my braking points there, braking on an oval. Got to get into it there, but felt good.
Seems like we're going to have a much hotter race than it is today. How much is that going to change how these cars are going to react to traffic?
I think it's going to be a little harder to find that clean air behind someone. So I think it's going to be a little harder to pass, maybe a little bit more understeer for guys. So yeah, I think it's going to be a little tougher for everyone, but I think we definitely have the car to adapt to that, and yeah, we still have a few tricks up our sleeves.
Going to try to lead lap 1?
We'll see. For me, got to make sure I don't use all my fuel in the first few laps like last year. So we'll see if I happen to lead the first few laps, great. If not, well, I make sure I lead the last few.
So the real crux of the issue, we're getting down to 1 week, or less than 1 week, before the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500. And based on my observations today, I have 4 names I'm going to throw at you. Rinus VeeKay, Alex Palou, Helio Castroneves, and Takuma Sato. Those are the drivers I think currently have the best cars. But as you heard in that interview, race day is expected to be some 20 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than it was today. It was actually, as you can tell, I'm still wearing a jacket, of course. It was a fairly mild day, around 65 to 70 degrees. It was not hot. We're expecting it to be hot. I've been speaking to some people kind of off the record around the garage area as well, and it's kind of the thought process is the race is going to be more like it was in 2018 or 2020, much more than maybe we saw in 2019 versus 2021, where the cool conditions allowed a little bit more passing, the cars to run closer together. I think what you're going to be in for is a much more traditional Indy 500, where you're going to have the fast cars going fast and the slow cars going slow, and traffic will be a factor, and strategy will be a factor. All of those things will be much more a factor than just pure speed. Remember, there's a lot of people picking Dixon right now. I believe in the Dixon curse. That's a thing, and maybe if we have some time before the end of the month, we'll be talking about that in a video, because that's absolute. Scott Dixon finds new and creative ways to lose the Indy 500 every year, in my opinion anyway, and I think it's backed up by facts as well. So Rinus VeeKay I thought looked really good. I think that car, and it's funny because he said in the interview that he wasn't so strong when he got out by himself. But it looks like, if you remember back to, I think it was Tuesday or Thursday, one of the things I noticed in traffic when there's the whole pack going around, when you get 2 of the fastest cars together, they tend to pull away from the rest of the pack. I observed this today with Rinus VeeKay and Helio Castroneves. Part of the reason why I'm picking those 2 is once they started leapfrogging, they pulled away from the rest of the field. If you think about hotter conditions where, again, car handling is going to mean a lot more, I think you're going to see that effect amplified. So I think you're going to see a couple of cars hook up and run away. We'll see. Helio Castroneves, the problem with him is, of course, he's starting so deep in the field. I'm expecting this to be a caution-rich race with so many fast cars starting in the back. Helio's key to victory is going to be not getting wrecked, but he is right now still in my final 4 in terms of drivers and cars I think can win this race. Takuma Sato is an interesting one. I just like Takuma Sato. I always have here at the Indianapolis 500. He's just a driver who understands and gets this race, and he just seems confident. Every time I've talked to him, he just seems cool, calm, and collected. I think Takuma's got a really good shot. I definitely think he's got a good shot if he can get and stay up front. And finally, Alex Palou. I think you have to pick someone from the Ganassi squad, right? And I think Palou is absolutely the strongest. He's the most consistent. He was the most consistent in qualifying when you look at all of the Ganassi cars. So to me, and also that second place last year I know is still sticking with him. So I think Alex Palou of the Ganassi cars is the strong bet at this time. By the way, buy some merch. I'm wearing the Race 92 merch. You may have seen it on the community tab. As always, the link is in the description to go buy a David Land t-shirt, and we may have, by race day at least, but hopefully by carb day, actual options to buy shirts here at the track that have my logo on it. So really exciting times, a crazy day of practice here. Cars are not back on track until Friday for carburation day, but obviously we've got a lot more things to come, including the very famous, as always, starting grid video that I love doing. That should be out very soon, as well as some other fun tidbits throughout the week. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more motorsport and Indy 500 content, and I will see you in the next video.